5 true apartment horror stories. Ever felt the prickling sensation of being watched while you're alone in your apartment? What if the whispers in the dead of night weren't just your imagination? Welcome to a world where your sanctuary turns sinister. From spectral sightings to bone-chilling sounds, these true tales will make you question the safety of your own 4 walls. Brace yourself for 5 spine-tingling apartment horror stories that will have you checking over your shoulder long after the video ends. Are you ready to confront the darkness that lurks within your home? Let's dive in. Story 1. The Haunting at Cypress Lane. Our first chilling story takes place at Cypress Lane Apartments in a seemingly peaceful suburb. Sarah, a young professional, had just moved into what she thought was her dream apartment. Initially, everything was perfect. She loved the spacious layout, the natural light, and the friendly neighbors. But her excitement quickly turned to dread when strange things started happening. Doors would inexplicably creak open, and she would hear footsteps echoing in the empty halls at night. One evening, Sarah was startled awake by the sound of a woman sobbing. The cries seemed to emanate from her bathroom, yet she found it empty. Determined to find answers, Sarah started investigating the history of her apartment. She discovered an old newspaper article about a woman who had been brutally murdered in her apartment years ago. The victim, named Mary, was a previous tenant who had died under mysterious circumstances, and her killer was never found. After this discovery, the paranormal activity escalated. Sarah began seeing the apparition of a woman in old-fashioned clothing, weeping and reaching out to her. Objects would move on their own, and cold spots would appear in various rooms. It was clear that the spirit was seeking justice or closure. Sarah's once perfect home had become a living nightmare, and she eventually moved out, leaving the haunting behind. The apartment remained vacant for months, with future tenants experiencing the same eerie phenomena. Story 2. The Entity at Parkview Apartments. Our next story takes us to Parkview Apartments, where Jason and Emily, a young couple, encountered an unimaginable terror. Shortly after moving in, they noticed eerie occurrences: lights flickering, objects moving on their own, and an unnaturally cold breeze with no source. Initially, they dismissed these as quirks of an old building, but one night, while watching TV, they saw a shadowy figure standing in the hallway. As quickly as it appeared, the figure vanished, leaving them terrified. Jason and Emily decided to investigate further. They spoke with their neighbors and learned that the previous tenant, Mr. Thompson, had been deeply involved in the occult, performing dark rituals in the apartment. These rituals had apparently summoned an entity that now refused to leave. The couple tried various methods to cleanse their home, including hiring a priest and using sage, but nothing worked. The entity's presence grew stronger, manifesting as a dark, oppressive force that left them feeling drained and fearful. They experienced night terrors, with Jason feeling as though he was being choked by an invisible force. Despite their efforts, the malevolent presence persisted, and the couple was ultimately forced to move out, leaving the entity behind. The new tenants reported similar disturbances, indicating that the entity had taken permanent residence. Story 3. The Poltergeist of Elm Street Lofts. Elm Street Lofts, an old building with a storied past, became the setting for a series of bizarre events. Mia, an artist, rented a loft, hoping to find inspiration. However, she soon found herself at the mercy of an unseen force. Paintings were ripped from the walls, her supplies were scattered, and she heard whispers at night. One evening, as she was painting, she felt an icy hand on her shoulder. Turning around, she saw a translucent figure glaring at her. Mia decided to dig into the building's history and discovered that a previous artist named Lucas had lived and worked in the loft. Lucas had become increasingly paranoid, claiming that unseen forces were sabotaging his work. He eventually committed suicide in the loft, driven mad by the constant torment. Mia realized that she was dealing with a poltergeist, a restless spirit that took pleasure in causing chaos. The poltergeist seemed to delight in tormenting Mia, driving her to the brink of insanity, as it had with Lucas. Despite trying various cleansing rituals and even seeking help from a medium, the disturbances only worsened. Mia would find her paintings defaced, with eerie messages scrawled across them. After a particularly violent encounter, where she was pushed down the stairs, Mia was forced to leave, abandoning her dreams of artistic inspiration in that haunted loft. The loft remained unoccupied, with its haunted reputation spreading among the art community. Story 4. The Possession at Maplewood Apartments. Maplewood Apartments gained notoriety after a series of disturbing incidents involving a particular unit. Lisa, a single mother, moved in with her young son, seeking a fresh start. Initially, everything seemed fine. However, her son soon began exhibiting strange behavior, speaking in a deep, unfamiliar voice and having violent outbursts. Lisa discovered bizarre symbols drawn on his bedroom walls and ceiling. The drawings resembled ancient runes and occult symbols that she couldn't understand. Desperate for help, she contacted a priest who agreed to perform an exorcism. During the ritual, her son convulsed and screamed, as if possessed by a malevolent force. The priest struggled to expel the entity, which seemed deeply rooted within the boy. The exorcism lasted for hours, with the entity fighting to maintain its hold. Eventually, after a harrowing battle, the entity was finally expelled, but the family was left deeply traumatized. The symbols on the walls vanished, and her son gradually returned to normal. Lisa moved out of the apartment immediately, but the experience left an indelible mark on their lives. The apartment remained vacant for years, its dark history scaring away potential tenants. The landlord eventually decided to demolish the unit, hoping to rid the building of its cursed reputation. Story 5. The Curse of Shadow Ridge Apartments. Our final story takes us to Shadow Ridge Apartments, where a dark curse seemed to plague its residents. Mark, a college student, moved into the complex with his friends, hoping for a fun and affordable living arrangement. They soon noticed that every tenant who lived in their unit suffered a series of misfortunes, accidents, illnesses, and even deaths. Mark's friend Sam began seeing a ghostly figure at night, whispering ominous warnings. These warnings foretold of accidents that would later occur, adding to their terror. Determined to uncover the truth, Mark and his friends conducted thorough research and discovered that the apartment was built on land used for occult rituals in the past. These rituals involved invoking dark forces, and the land was believed to be cursed. The curse had been passed down through generations, affecting anyone who dared to live there. Strange occurrences escalated, including objects moving on their own and unexplained injuries. Sam experienced severe nightmares, waking up with mysterious scratches on his body. The group's mental and physical health deteriorated rapidly. After several near-death experiences and a growing sense of dread, Mark and his friends fled, leaving the cursed apartment behind. Despite their departure, the apartment remained infamous, with many refusing to live there. The landlord tried multiple times to rent it out, but the reputation of the curse kept it vacant. Eventually, the entire building was condemned and torn down, but the land's dark history remains a haunting memory for those who lived there. These true apartment horror stories remind us that the scariest things aren't always outside our doors, but may be lurking within our own homes. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales. And remember, if you ever feel a cold breeze or hear unexplained noises, you might not be alone after all.